Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho and it's Tuesday, week 15, evening, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And let's run through some waiver priority lists. And then I want to check in on some best ball teams. It's been a while since we've spoken about best ball, but given it's officially week 15, we're going to see what the advance rate is and see if I have any teams I'm like hopeful for going in to the tournament playoffs. So let us begin. Vámonos, muchachos. All right, let's pull this up and move myself to the side. There we go. These are my priorities for the running back position going in to week 15. I think if you can get your hands on Blake Corum, he's been playing so well. I think I want him the most. So let me put him at the top. Let me make that a bit smaller. There we go. Blake Corum is my number one. He was just so explosive last week, and I kind of don't feel like he's going away. Obviously, it's still a time split, and he is a backup at the end of the day. But he plays for the Rams, and it kind of feels like they're pivoting to a bit of a run-first offense. He gets Detroit this week, not a great matchup. Then he gets Seattle, also a bad matchup. However, at Atlanta, that one should be good. And I kind of just feel like he's playing so well. I really want him. So maybe I'm wrong. A backup maybe isn't the most coveted option, but he is rostered in like 55%. So check for him. Oh, wait. No, he's only rostered in 22% on ESPN. I'm mixing him up with someone else. Apologies. Read the wrong thing. He's widely available in roughly 4 out of 5 leagues. He is there for the taking. So I'm willing to grab him at the very least. I want good players to keep away from other people's bench, and I do think Blake Corum has legit value. But Devin Neal played very well last week, also has a pretty legit schedule, and then the volume is not something to worry about. So this week, he's going to be home against Carolina. That's been a great matchup for running backs. Then he's home against the Jets, and then he closes it out at Tennessee. That actually has been a tough matchup lately, but still all 3 of those games are going to be somewhat competitive. I don't think the game script goes away from him too much. I do think Devin Neal has value. One of the last starters you can find. But there is a world where Jalen Wright is like a league winner down the stretch here because Devon Achane is possibly not going to be healthy this week. Might be missing practice, might not play on Monday night. But are you willing to roll the dice on waiting for a Monday night game with a backup running back that would do just about nothing? Otherwise, like, I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out. But at the moment, the potential value of Jalen Wright is absolutely off the chart. So I was tempted to put him at number 1. But at the moment, I'm not totally sure about Achane. Whereas I know that Corum has a role. I like his upside. And then I also feel like Devin Neal is also a safer bet. So higher floor with Devin Neal, higher upside with Jalen Wright. And if you would rather just take the handcuff that might actually get the job this week, then go ahead with Jalen Wright. But Devin Singletary may still be valuable. Tyron Tracy looks to be healthy, though, so not as solid, but the matchup against Washington doesn't scare me. Singletary still gets looks, so not a bad acquisition at all. And then Chris Rodriguez still scoring touchdowns, still relevant. He's definitely the Commanders running back to own, and he also gets an elite matchup this week against the Giants. So that's a good spot. I could see him score a touchdown and offer like 60, maybe 70 plus yards. I do think Rodriguez is a solid depth piece, but now we're in the desperation territory, and I think Tyler Algier is oddly like only rostered in 33%, but still valuable. One of the handcuffs that does have a workload. Like him and Blake Corum are technically in the same tier, but at the moment it looks like Corum is a bit hotter. So Algier is okay, but you're a bit underwhelmed. Rarely getting more than like 12 touches, but could easily score a touchdown. That's definitely possible this week. Good matchup at the Bucks. And then Dylan Sampson caught like 5 receptions last week. And oftentimes when you have a quarterback change mid-season, sometimes the third string players start to have better value because they have chemistry developed with the third string quarterback on the practice squad. So I do think there's a little bit of a connection between Sampson and Shadur Sanders that wouldn't apply with someone like Dylan Gabriel. And then Jerome Ford is also kind of losing his job, also banged up. So Sampson may be more valuable in full PPR, but kind of hard to like fully believe he's that valuable. Against Chicago, I doubt I would ever start him, but I think maybe worth a pickup in like full PPR. And then Tyjae Spears was definitely behind Tony Pollard last week. So although I've ranked him higher, he's on the list. He just is low on the list, and I don't really feel like it's that valuable anymore. If Pollard continues to play well, then Spears is not the guy. So available, he's rostered in only 33%, just like Algier, but odds are you're never starting Tyjae Spears. And then this is an odd one. In Arizona, the starter is Bam Knight. However, last week, even with more touches, he was barely more valuable than Michael Carter. Michael Carter was more efficient, and Bam Knight is looking really, really trash when he gets the ball. So I don't want either Arizona running back, like for them to be behind some of these handcuffs, like even Dylan Sampson ranked higher, I think is telling. But because it's a time split, I don't really trust either. I prefer Bam Knight, no doubt about it, but he's not really looking good. And then he gets a terrible matchup against Houston this week. So I have no desire to start an Arizona Cardinal running back. If it's not Trey Benson, fuck that shit. It is not worth your time. So good luck there. Oddly, Michael Carter looks better than Bam Knight. So I could still see Carter steal the job, but at the moment it's Bam Knight. And then lastly, at this point, you got to be in a super deep league. But Keaton Mitchell is getting touches. Keaton Mitchell, not completely worthless in Baltimore. So those are my top 10. I guess it's top 11. And really, I'm like looking for the home run swing of Blake Corum, Jalen Wright. However, Devin Neal is probably a slightly safer investment than the two of them. So good luck like choosing between all of them, but this is the direction I would go in. And now we can move on to wide receiver. Let's change positions now. Reminder, if you have questions, go ahead and drop them down below. I'll be happy to answer them once I'm done. I will get to all the questions. But let's talk about receivers now, where this one at the top is purely contingent on an injury. But if you're telling me CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, Ryan Flournoy is going to be legit. Ryan Flournoy is absolutely worth your time as a stash play. Maybe he is worthless because Lamb might be active, but if Lamb is not, if Lamb's concussion holds him out, then holy shit. We've seen some amazing volume out of Flournoy, and even last week he really stepped up when Lamb went down. So Pickens was had a weird vibe last week. I don't know what's going on with Pickens, probably the contract situation, but Ryan Flournoy, I do think is absolutely worth the stash. If you're telling me Lamb doesn't play, I would rank Flournoy as a clear flex play, if not like top 25 receiver. I think it's totally legit. Against the Vikings, not the best matchup, but still I'm trusting Dak and the element of surprise. The defense doesn't respect Flournoy, so he gets open, and he's definitely more targeted than Jalen Tolbert, even Kevontae Turpin. I think Flournoy is a legit stash. If you have Lamb, I would handcuff him for sure. That's what I'm planning to do in my league where I have CeeDee Lamb. But Luther Burden, probably more of a locked-in starter this week. Maybe Flournoy doesn't have any value, and maybe you'd rather just go to Chicago because I don't know what's going on with Rome Odunze. Don't think he'll play, and even if he does, DJ Moore kind of losing his job. DJ Moore is not playing well. Luther Burden looking more valuable than DJ Moore right now. So the matchup is solid against Cleveland this week. I could see Caleb play very well, and I do think Luther Burden is starting to emerge. I think he's legit, especially with the Rome Odunze injury. Kind of a tentative stash like Flournoy. Like if you tell me Odunze plays, then Burden is not as valuable. But if Odunze sits again, Burden is legit. So a good pickup. Jaden Reed, also high upside, but low floor. Not much volume in Green Bay. There's too many mouths to feed to know exactly what you're going to get. But Jaden Reed is very explosive, very dynamic, really good athlete, and a go-to option. Probably the number 2 receiver behind Christian Watson right now. So I think he's a good stash. A little hard to trust in the lineup, but at this stage of the season, there aren't that many good players. So all these guys are mainly guys you want to prevent your opponent from starting against you. They all have elite upside, and if you're in a pinch, I understand starting them. But ideally, you want the best bench as well as the best starting lineup, and I do think they are the more valuable guys to pick up. Jaden Reed, absolutely legit. But Jaden Higgins, sadly, doesn't have the same connection with CJ Stroud as he did with Davis Mills. With Davis Mills, he was averaging like almost 9 targets a game. With Stroud in the last 2 weeks, it's capped at 5. Stroud just doesn't look in Higgins' direction as often. Maybe he doesn't want to throw the ball as much. Stroud is a little more risk averse, I would say. But maybe it's just the defense playing him better. Higgins, I still think is valuable, but just not playing as well with Stroud as he was with Davis Mills. So a slight bummer, but still a decent pickup and play. And then in New England, it's pretty random, but Kayshon Boutte has pretty high upside, maybe more valuable than even Jaden Higgins. I could see all of the top 5 being in like the same tier. And if you want to put Boutte higher, I understand, but it's also pretty crowded in New England. So good luck picking the right week to start Boutte, but in terms of touchdowns, it's definitely more likely than anyone else other than Stephon Diggs. And then Darius Slayton gets an awesome matchup this week against the Giants are playing Washington. That's a great spot. The Commanders' defense sucks. And then off the bye, Slayton should be healthier, so his connection with Jackson Dart down the field is valuable. I do think Slayton is a legit stash, but Chimera DK also somewhat valuable. At this point, we're getting pretty desperate, and it's just kind of a swing for the fence. But not that valuable, but is getting looks, is the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. And then John Mechie still had more targets than A.D. Mitchell last week, so it reverted back to him. And he's been more consistent. A.D. Mitchell has kind of fallen off a little bit, whereas Mechie has stayed at like 8 targets per game. So I still think I'd rather have Mechie than A.D. Mitchell, but neither are that safe. And then Devon Vele had, I believe, 40 yards on 3 catches last week. Not atrociously bad, not a good matchup against Carolina, though, but is relevant in New Orleans. And then Jack Betch, say what you will, does look like he has a connection with Kenny Pickett. Betch had 6 catches last week. Not great, but with Kenny Pickett, like I was mentioning with Shadur Sanders and Dylan Sampson, if you're getting a backup quarterback, then a backup receiver that has better chemistry on the practice squad with that quarterback is going to be more valuable than maybe the guy that was getting more looks beforehand. So in Las Vegas, it's totally up for grabs. And last week, Betch was getting looks from Kenny Pickett, but only in like full PPR would I even like consider it. I doubt it. I really doubt it. But Jalen Coker also maybe plays well against the Saints. It's a decent matchup. He also had legit targets last time we saw him. Before the bye, I believe he scored a touchdown, and maybe that continues. It's not egregious to assume that the Panthers offense does have value in the passing game. So those are the top 11, but I also have some honorable mentions. I think Isaac Tesla can still score touchdowns, not insane to roster, but obviously very risky. I also think A.D. Mitchell is still valuable. I would prefer John Mechie. I also think Jalen McMillan in Tampa Bay might be legit, but at the moment, Mike Evans is really the main stash there. And then lastly, I could also see Elik Ayamanor maybe score another touchdown as well in Tennessee. But maybe Kyle Williams is also going to get a post-bye rookie bump in New England. Some honorable mentions, but really I think the main options to pick up are the top 3. I think if you're not getting the top 3, then the top 6 are like the consolation prize. And then once you hit Chimera DK, it's like, okay, you're probably not going to start this player, but perhaps you're very desperate. Maybe your league is very competitive or just very deep. Sometimes your waiver wire is very thin. So I like to give you a lot of options, but really I'm sticking to the top 4 or 5. And now let's move on to the next position, quarterback. Quarterback I think is okay, but odds are you're sticking with the stud that got you there. Quarterback is kind of hard to pivot last second, unless you have like Justin Herbert who's injured. Even that I'm not like totally panicking on, but it is risky. Quarterback's been weird lately. I don't know what's going on with quarterback. So maybe you'd like a backup, but I do think Trevor Lawrence is playing out of his mind right now. I do think Trevor Lawrence is a very legit plug and play. I wish I played him in one of my leagues last week where I went with Justin Herbert. That extra 11 points would have been valuable. I would have only lost by like 2. So I got burned by Herbert last week, and Lawrence is a pretty safe play right now. His matchups are also pretty fire. This week he gets the Jets. That doesn't scare you at all. Then he's going to be at Denver, so you probably want to bench him. But then he's back against the Colts on the road. He played really well against Indy last time around. So I think Trevor Lawrence is a legit pick up and play. If you play in Week 18, he's also home to Tennessee, and he absolutely dominates the Titans. In his career, Lawrence actually has insane numbers against the Titans. So my favorite stash, a totally legit streaming quarterback. And then Stroud, I like his matchup this week against Arizona. I see some very high upside, but It's kind of hard to buy into the Texans offense providing like multiple touchdowns. They have a weird team. They win with defense and a lot of field goals. And then now that Woody Marks is playing well, like Stroud rarely scores more than one touchdown. It's a bit frustrating with Stroud, but good yards is what I would expect next week. And then Darnold is pretty inconsistent, but definitely has value. Plays against the Colts this week, so should be pretty solid. I wouldn't be afraid to start Sam Darnold this week. However, Shador Sanders is like kind of a player that I feel like I might need to roster just to prevent somebody from starting against me. If you are super desperate, I understand the Shador Sanders hype. Last week was insane. I really have no idea how repeatable it is with Shador, because in the Blunt League, he literally dropped 40 points. I'm not sure what your scoring format is. We have the 300-yard bonus. He had 3 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. But before that, he was capped at 12.5 points. So I think it was just the matchup. I don't fully believe that that's what you're going to get out of Shador quite often. His completion percentage is still awful. So it's really just down the field looks that you're hoping for. But last week was impressive. 4 total touchdowns. To pretend like it's not enticing would be a lie. It's pretty fun to maybe have Shador Sanders on your bench down the stretch. But this week against Chicago will say a lot. Can he repeat? I doubt it. But definitely piques my interest quite a bit. But J.J. McCarthy gets the best matchup against Dallas this week, so maybe you're willing to roll the dice, but I would not. I'm still going to avoid him. I don't trust J.J. And then Aaron Rodgers looked good. Let's not pretend. Last week against the Ravens, Rodgers looked pretty dope. The rushing touchdown was fun to watch. But in general, Rodgers is hard to trust, so against the Dolphins this week, good luck. But it is a primetime game, maybe he steps up. I doubt it. And then Bryce Young needs some rushing stats, but he's had some insane production at times. Mariota, kind of interesting. Kirk Cousins gets Tampa Bay. He torched them last year, but I can't imagine you're willing to do that. And then Kenny Pickett against the Eagles. It's also a revenge game. Lastly, Tua against the Steelers in the snow. I think I'm going to pass. So, again, only going this deep because some of you are in like super competitive formats, but really I'm only looking for Trevor Lawrence, Stroud, and Sam Darnold. Once I hit Shador, I think I'm going to pass. But we can move on to tight end now. Let me pull up that position where, honestly, here is where I think I might want to be stashing the most depth pieces. I think in terms of flex options, receiver and running back get gross outside the top 40, top 50. And then there is always like a touchdown looming for some of these tight ends. So some of them are really valuable, but also there's like the threat of only like 4 targets in the game and you getting burned with like, 20 yards on like 2 catches. So that's where tight end is like really difficult to really endorse as your second flex spot. But it's odd to me how some of these players are still very low rostered. I get it that Theo Johnson was just on bye, but he's had elite upside this year. I consider Theo Johnson a top 10 tight end. So I like him a lot. He's rostered in only 43%. So check for him. He might be taken, but if he's available, I do think he's the best you can find. But Colston Loveland been on a heater. Loveland actually very productive. 2 weeks ago kind of fooled me, but last week was definitely confirmation I can trust him. And then with the injury to Rome Odunze, I think he might be the more valuable target in his offense. Like I don't see it going away from him. And then given his draft capital and pedigree, I think he's pretty legit. So Loveland also rostered in 40%, so maybe unavailable, maybe he's right for the picking. But him and Theo Johnson, I think, are going to be very solid down the stretch here. He gets Cleveland this week, and I think he'll play pretty well. I like Colston Loveland, but I do prefer Theo Johnson. I trust touchdowns a little bit more often for Theo Johnson. But this week, Isaiah Likely probably finally scores a touchdown. Last 2 weeks have been odd. He's like this close to scoring a touchdown in each of the last 2 games, and then we always know that the Bengals are an elite tight end matchup. So I think he will redeem himself. I think he will find pay dirt. And then oddly, Andrews is like falling off a cliff as Likely starts to step up. Last 2 weeks in good matchups, Andrews has been dog shit, whereas Likely has clearly overtaken him. So I'm going to buy into that. I think despite the contract extension for Andrews, Likely's just stepping up, and I do think he's valuable. This matchup this week is why I would look to him. Very high production for every tight end typically against the Bengals. He was this close to having an elite performance, if not for the fumble through the end zone. But Colby Parkinson has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games. Not a ton of volume, but very reliably getting those looks in the red zone if you get another red zone target, not going to shock me. And touchdowns move the needle the most at this position. So Colby Parkinson, very legit. 2 weeks ago, he had another red zone target. It just didn't hit. So I wouldn't be afraid to plug him in. Outside the top 10 at tight end, we just want to chase touchdowns. Parkinson does offer it more than most people. So Brenton Strange, I do have behind him. But I will mention this. Despite my rank not working out on Strange last week, he did score a touchdown that was called back by a Jacoby Myers false start. So that was really frustrating. He could have had a great game. It just didn't work out. And then obviously the only valuable reception he had was negated by penalty. So Strange is right there. I do think Strange is legit, but at this stage of tight end, I think I'd rather go with Loveland or Theo Johnson than Parkinson. Maybe a bit more reliable for a touchdown, given he plays with Stafford. And in Jacksonville, it's starting to get a bit crowded. Strange is not locked in to more volume than Parkinson. So they're both in the same tier. They're both kind of equally as valuable as each other. But beyond that point, if you're desperate, maybe Mike Gesicki does play well again. Last week was probably his best game of the year, though, so I don't feel desperate to chase the points, but he does have value, undeniable. And then Dawson Knox also played well. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills just commit to 13 personnel and run Kincaid, Knox, and Jackson Hawes out there 60% of the time. I do think last week's performance for Knox was kind of legit. They also get another snow matchup this week against New England. So probably going to avoid him, but he was better than Kincaid last week. So maybe he's better. I doubt it. And then Njoku definitely lost the job to Fannin. At this stage, it's pretty low on the spectrum, but a lot of people still roster Njoku. I would rather have these other guys above Njoku. So good luck with him, but I could still see Shador provide value in Cleveland. The receivers I wouldn't trust. And then Mason Taylor had a good game last week, but it was matchup dependent, so I wouldn't buy in too much. And then Gunnar Helm, I still think has a shot to be better than Okonkwo, but kind of fell behind him last week, so definitely moving down the list. And then in Washington, Zach Ertz probably out for his career. Definitely out for the season, an ACL tear if I'm not mistaken. And then the year 2 player, Ben Sennett, will have some opportunity. So I doubt he's going to move the needle, but could run a lot of routes. And maybe the Commanders' tight end's still valuable. But really, I want the top 5. I think the top 5 are the best plays. Theo Johnson, Colston Loveland, likely this week because of the matchup. And then Parkinson and Strange, looking for touchdowns. Once you hit Gesicki, it's a bit hard to believe in. So that's it at tight end. Lastly, let's talk about defense, and then I'll answer some of your questions. And then once I catch up with the chat, I'm going to go into my BestBall account and remind us all of those picks. But I don't know what just happened on my end. I think it's all good, but something strange happened. Anyways, I think we're fine. All right, so defense is odd. Defense, there's all of the teams that you've already rostered at a high rate that you're probably stashing, and then there's the defenses that are at 50% and below that maybe you can still acquire and maybe you're still streaming the position. So defense is strange. However, I do believe that the Niners are probably a great play this week. The 49ers are coming off a bye, and then they play the Titans this week. So a great 1 week matchup. I don't think I want them after that, though. At the Colts, maybe Rivers is legit, but they should be okay, not amazing. And then home to Chicago and Seattle, that's going to be fine, not elite. So the Niners, it's just like this week. I think the Niners are going to be the highest ranked in this week alone. So understand that you're not going to have a great stashing value on the Niners. But the Jags for 1 week are also fucking dope. Jags hosting the Jets are going to play very well. And then their schedule gets kind of tough. At Denver, not my favorite. At Indy, probably not elite, but last week was on fire. Actually, the Colts, maybe not the worst matchup you could find. Then they're home to Tennessee. If you're playing in Week 18, then the Jags are really good. So the Jags, I do think, are a very legit pickup regardless of format. Then the Eagles are rostered above 50%, so look out for them. But in theory, they should dominate the Raiders this week. I did pick them to lose, but let's be honest, that's a very bold take that's probably not going to work out. I'm just calling upset for the fun of it. But if I'm recommending you a defense to start, on paper, Eagles hosting Las Vegas should be a great spot. but maybe Kenny Pickett does torch you. Maybe Bowers really plays well. I kind of feel like they're going to let you down, but ultimately I would still start them. Then they get Washington, and that's also a pretty good spot. But the Bears hosting Cleveland for 1 week, I think have a great value. Then it's brutal. I wouldn't want to start them against Green Bay, the Niners, or Detroit. But this week, the Bears are legit. And all of these defenses are below 50%. The Bears are at 13% rostered. So you can still get a hand on a good defense. You can still acquire a valuable play at defense. The Saints, however, have an elite schedule. And honestly, the Saints, I was tempted to put at number 1. Like, it's hard to tell you exactly who the best one is because the Saints get Carolina. That's not bad, but it's not great. And then they're home to the Jets, at Tennessee, and then in week 18, if you're still caring about it, it's at Atlanta. That's not bad. Not bad at all. So the Saints are actually pretty interesting, and then the Saints are only rostered in 5%. The Saints are actually potentially like a league winner. Home to the Jets and at Tennessee in the final 2 games could be elite. So good luck with them, but then their season's also over, so they could also quit on defense. That's also hard to trust, but at least in division this week, I think they try to play spoiler. Not terrible. And then in the same game, we get the Panthers at the Saints. Panthers should play well. Then they're home to Tampa Bay. They get Tampa again in week 18. And then between those 2 games, they're home to Seattle. The Panthers for 1 week, I think, are legit. Otherwise, though, I don't think they're good. Chargers at Kansas City. It's not like the Chiefs are playing well. So the Chargers are forcing a lot of turnovers. They're available in just under 50%. They're at 47% rostered. So odds are you can't acquire them. But then I think I'd bench them after that. At Dallas, home to Houston, or at Denver, I would say no on the Chargers. But Packers home to Denver, I think could still be good this week. Then at Chicago, Baltimore, Minnesota. Maybe just the Baltimore and Vikings game last week wasn't great for them against the Bears. And then Cowboys home to Minnesota. McCarthy's not good, but then the Cowboys are also very average and not like elite on defense. So at this stage, I think I'm probably not as interested. But then the Chiefs, if you want to stash them, they get the Titans on the road next week. So Chiefs could also quit if they lose this week. So that could also be a bad decision. And then the Dolphins, last call at Pittsburgh. Do you really trust the Steelers offense that much? Not a lot. So, I want the Niners, I want the Jaguars, I want the Bears and the Saints, and then I think there's also a great argument for the Eagles. But really, this week I want the top 5. Once we hit the Panthers, I think I'm pass. But the Saints are very sneaky with this schedule here. So, good luck. If we still have questions, drop them in the comments below. And then when I'm done with the live stream, I'll put the timestamps for anyone that's like checking in later. If you want to come back to this video, I'll have them timestamps. But if you're popping in now, if you missed the main broadcast, you can always rewind, put it at double speed if you want to catch up. I'll be live for another 30 minutes to an hour at the least. But that's it for the main broadcast, all 5 positions. So let me know if you still have questions, but I think we can probably move on, probably pull up the chat now. And I would like to get to the best ball thing before it's too late. So let me get your comments up on the screen. Let me remove my pinned comment. And then give me just like a minute to set this up. Need the filter that can put your comments on. But hope you all had a good week 14. I hope you advanced. I hope you got the win and made the playoffs. I hope we're not sadly out of the mix in our leagues. But Jamie, welcome in, man. Good luck on your podcast. Good luck, man. But thanks for checking in. And then Rajan, always look forward to the streams. Welcome in, man. Thanks for joining us. Dev, welcome in, Dev. I have to thank you one more time on the Tesla. We'll bring it up later, but I have one best ball team that advanced by less than a point, and Tesla scored me 9 last week. He was in the flex starting lineup, and that's what put me over the top. Drafting Tesla fucking saved me. Albie, what up? How are you doing in the subscriber league? We have advanced. Last week we did not have a good showing, but I had like 3 playmakers on bye, and I had already clinched the playoff spot. So didn't have a shot at the bye. I got the 5 seed all in all, and then we finished 6th in points, And then one team that had more points than us did miss the playoff picture, sadly, at 7-7. But I finished 8-6. We got the 5 seed. We got a win out. We didn't get the bye, sadly, but I have a shot. We'll maybe look at the team later on. But in both my leagues, I am in the playoff picture. Rajan says I clinched a bye week. I've 2 tight ends, Loveland and Schultz. Should I drop Schultz for Theo or Likely, specifically for week 16 and 17? Very legit question. Let me take a look at their schedules as I answer this question for you. Schedules are definitely going to factor in quite a bit. So the Ravens this week get Cincinnati, so that's a good spot for them, but you're asking about 16 and 17. Then they get the Patriots. That's a good spot, but I also am not totally sure what's going to happen with Andrews. I feel like after the contract extension, it's hard to envision Andrews just disappearing. You know what I mean? So that's where it's hard to trust. And then against Green Bay, that's week 17. The Ravens tight end matchup is terrible. The Packers are actually really stopping tight ends well at the moment. So given you don't care about this Bengals matchup, I don't think Isaiah Likely is as interesting. However, when it comes to Theo Johnson, I think Theo Johnson might be more valuable than Schultz. Theo Johnson has the Commanders this week, but then when you care most, it's against the Vikings. That matchup isn't bad. If I'm not mistaken, it's like fine. Let me pull it up. Going into last week, the Vikings were a top 11 matchup for tight end. So I would assume he plays well against the Vikings. And then at Las Vegas, that's actually a really bad matchup. But I also think that game could be a shootout, and I kind of might not care. So the only decision is he better? Is he more valuable than Schultz? And Schultz will be home to Las Vegas, so also the same matchup, just a different week. If anything, you want the worst matchup later, because if you don't advance week 16, then week 17 is irrelevant. So in week 16, I'm going to tell you right now, I'd rather start Theo Johnson than Dalton Schultz. In week 18, they're at the Chargers, and that's a fine matchup. It's not good, it's not bad, it's neutral. So overall, I would say Theo Johnson has the better schedule. That Vikings matchup is better than the Chargers matchup, and then they both get the Raiders. So yeah, I would be okay dropping Schultz for Isaiah Likely. No, for Theo Johnson. Excuse me. Apologies on that. For Theo Johnson, I would be okay to drop Dalton Schultz. Good luck on that. But Louis Perez, thank you for the super chat, my friend. You're asking flex in week 15, Booty, Slayton, Tyler Warren, Burden, or Monangai. You got some good options here. I think because of the depth, I think I'm going to avoid the risk of someone like Kayshon Booty. Booty has high upside, but very touchdown dependent. Against the Bills in the snow, maybe not my preferred matchup. I think I would be benching Kayshon Booty in this spot. You also have Darius Slayton, though. I like the matchup a lot for Slayton this week against Washington, so high upside. But is he more valuable than Tyler Warren against Seattle? That's an elite matchup. I think I would still stick with Tyler Warren above Darius Slayton. I think a more reliable option. Even with Phillip Rivers, I think I still might prefer Tyler Warren. But that one is very close. I could see it being a toss-up. Question is, do we prefer Burden over Tyler Warren? Against Cleveland. If Rome Odunze doesn't play, then maybe. But probably not. I think if you have Monangai, I would just go Monangai. Monangai against Cleveland should play well. They're not stopping running back at all right now. Like, they just gave up over 100 yards, like 2 house call touchdowns to Tony Pollard last week. Heading into that game, they ranked top 11 in terms of running back matchups. The Browns defense has quit. So I think that's the matchup I would want. Monangai, I think, would be the play, if you ask me. It's close, though. If I was in like full PPR, maybe not. But I think I'm leaning on Monangai a little bit more than Tyler Warren. But I think I'd go Warren over Burden. If Rivers wasn't the quarterback, I think I would trust Warren more. But I think I would pass. I think I'm going to go Monangai in that situation. A touchdown, I think, would be a safer bet than anyone. But it's just the matchup why I think I would do it. Jane with another super chat. Thank you as well. Drop Lad for Singletary. Egbuka still a start. These are very legit questions. Very sad that they're legit questions, but I don't think I would drop Lad for Singletary. I don't think I'm there yet on Singletary. If Tracy was out, then yeah, I think I would do it. However, Tracy appears to be fine. That's the injury report I read. According to Schefter, he says Tracy's going to be back. So I don't think Singletary is going to be phenomenal. But Singletary is still getting good volume. That's where I think it's maybe considerable why you'd ask this question. But I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would do it. But your second question, is Egbuka still a start? Sorry for not keeping that on the screen. Is Egbuka still a start? Fuck. Not really. I got him in the subscriber league. At the moment, I think I'm going to bench him. I don't feel good about it at all. Didn't the volume also fall off last week, if I'm not mistaken? Let me pull up Egbuka's stat line again before I say something inaccurate. Where is he? Last week, Egbuka still had 9 targets, but only 2 catches for 15 yards. It's so frustrating because he's still their top receiver, but it's 4 straight weeks with just terrible numbers. I don't trust him. I don't think so. I don't think you can start him. Like, he's a low-end flex play right now. I think you can argue that Chris Godwin's more valuable. Even if Godwin's not getting as many targets. Godwin is playing better, and it's not like the target share is much worse. I don't know what's going on with Baker. That offense is weird. I don't think so. I don't think he's a lock in the lineup. It depends on who you have. That's the thing about Egbuka. But Scott Young, good evening. Welcome in, my friend. And Rajan says, and for defense, I got the Browns and Bucks. Can I use them for week 16 and 17? At this point, I'm dropping the Bucks. I've been stashing the Bucks on one of my teams. I don't trust them at all. Are you watching them? Like, the stats that they're giving up are insane. They just lost to the Saints, and their schedule's not as good as I used to think it would be. Like, going in, like a month ago, I thought the Bucks were going to have a great schedule and they'd be an awesome stash. This week against the Falcons, I'm not so sure. Cousins torched them last year. And then they're at Carolina. The Panthers are playing well at times, especially at home. I don't feel great about that. Then they're at Miami. If it was home to Miami, maybe a little bit more confident. But even that, I don't think is like a lock. And then they're against Carolina again. I don't think their schedule's as good as you might think. Like, they're not good enough on defense to feel like they're going to take advantage of an average schedule. I think I'd rather go with the Saints defense than the Buccaneers defense, to be honest with you. But you also have the Browns. Can you start them in week 16 and 17? Who are the Browns playing? Browns will be hosting Buffalo, so no. And then hosting Pittsburgh. I think you can start them against Pittsburgh, but not against Buffalo. The Bucks I would consider dropping. But CJ Skinner, hello. Rajan says, thank you. You've helped me a lot in my league. Appreciate it. No worries, man. You are welcome. No worries at all. Anytime. Jay New says, I think Chargers skill position players aside from Hampton are done for, with Herbert being the one-armed bandit. Thank you for the time and all the help this season. I understand the sentiment. That's not the worst take. It's definitely risky with them. They're so random. I understand, but the only one I think I would not be willing to drop is Ladd. Like, if you ask me about QJ or Keenan, I think I'd be more open to it, but Ladd I still think is the guy that moves the needle there. But he was covered by Cooper DeJean so well. Last night, I don't know if he's like fully emblematic of how he's going to play, but he does get a Texans matchup in week 17. That's not going to be good. This week, he's at the Chiefs. That's not great. He does get the Cowboys, though. I think he'll play well against the Cowboys. That's where I'm not, like, he's the one guy I'm not willing to drop. But I understand your point here. I think it's very valid what you're saying. Totally legit. Anonymous says drop Andrews for Likely or Gesicki, or drop Gadsden too and pick up both. Here, I think I would drop Gadsden. I think I'm fine dropping Gadsden at this point. This week, I'd rather have Likely, I think. But It's hard to decommit to Andrews entirely. I don't know on Andrews. I think I would drop Gadsden for likely though. I think this week I would drop Gadsden, start likely, and then hold on to Andrews because the role in that offense might pivot back to him. But at the moment, it's hard to bet on. So I would understand dropping Andrews for maybe someone else. If you could get Colby Parkinson or Brenton Strange, I might consider doing it. However, I don't think I would do it for Gesicki. Gesicki, I don't think is good enough to be better than Andrews. Yeah, Rajan, I'm here with you, man. I was holding strong. I was very committed to the Bucks for like literally 5 weeks now. I've been stashing them. I thought that schedule would be great. And as they've played so poorly, I've just been losing so much faith. I don't think it's a safe play anymore. It still sounds like a good matchup, but because of how they've played, I just don't feel like I can trust them. So I'm willing to drop them and let somebody else start them. I feel like they're a bit more of a landmine than a reliable start. It's sad. I want them to be good, but they're just not. They're not living up to expectation. On the year, they're the defense number 18. Like, where is the confidence coming from? They have 2 straight weeks with 7 points, but before that, 0, 3, -1. And then the last 2 weeks have been good matchups against Arizona and New Orleans. If London doesn't play, then I think they're fine this week, but I don't really trust them, sadly, enough. Anonymous says, hard to trust Gadsden, but I'm thinking about that Cowboys matchup might be nice, but he ain't getting any targets lately. Yeah, he's been fading fast. The injury to Herbert doesn't help, but honestly, I think it's matchups. His matchups have been really brutal. Last few weeks, he has not had a good matchup whatsoever. So I think that also plays a role. The Cowboys matchup, let me look at it. It's fine. It's not great. It's better for receivers. He gets the Chiefs this week. That's actually a solid matchup right now. That's looking okay at the moment. Then he'll be at Dallas and then home to Houston. Houston's a terrible matchup. So no matchup is great. They're just like fine and then they get terrible. So yeah, I think you can drop Gadsden for sure. I wouldn't trust Gadsden as much as Lad McConkey. Rajan says Bills week 16 a good look. Bills in week 16, I think they're playing the Dolphins? No. Who the fuck are they playing? I don't have everyone's schedule memorized, so give me a minute. I'm looking it up. Week 16 at Cleveland. In theory, yes, but then Shador looked really good last week, and the Bills' defense is not their strength. I could see them kind of fall off the Pats game this week. Like, I want to say yes, but then I could also see it being a terrible, terrible play. They're kind of like the Bucks, where you think they should be more valuable, and then they're not. They're just not playing up to the potential that they can. I think they're just going to be average. I don't think they're a lock in the lineup in week 16. That's my opinion. Emiliano Gonzalez has dropped Algier for Corum or Singletary. I think so. I think I would be willing to drop Algier for Corum. Corum is just playing so effing well. I think I'm willing to grab him and not worry about it. But Algier over Singletary, that one's very close. That one I think I would still drop Algier, though. I think Singletary's slightly better than Algier. Jay New also says I dropped the Bucks today, grabbing Philly or the Patriots, hopefully. Oh, you can still get the Pats. Actually, Pats this week is rough. Against Buffalo, then at Baltimore, they should be fine. And then they get, I think, the Jets and the Dolphins for the last 2 weeks. So this week, I wouldn't trust the Patriots, but after that, I think they're good. After that, they should be fine. Philly this week should be okay, but then in my gut, I feel like they're gonna let the Raiders win. That's just what I think. Anyways, I have caught up. Last I checked, there are no more messages to mention. So now I can get to it. I was hopeful. I was looking forward to this. I'm gonna pull up my best ball teams. Let me get that going. We don't need this anymore. Instead, we need... Where is it? Okay, this is my browser tab. And this is BMDB, a website that tracks Underdog. And let me pull up my portfolio to show you my advance rate. And then it'll isolate like the teams that are playing well, and we can look into those and see how they're doing. But this is me. This is my account. We are advancing 55 out of 289 teams. I didn't go like super overboard on Underdog this year. I didn't draft as many Best Ball Mania teams as I probably should have. However, a couple weeks ago I had 60 teams advancing. In week 12, I was doing a little bit better, had a 21% advance rate. And then the last 2 weeks, it has fallen down to 55. So those late season buys are not helpful. And sadly, 4 of those teams did go away. But in week 10, I was at the highest. My peak was 62 advancing. That was like a 22% rate. So the expected was roughly 19-20%. Baseline was 17.9. So baseline, as long as I'm above baseline, I'm fine with that. I would love to be over 20%. It was higher earlier, but I'll take 19. That's okay. It could be better, but that's fine. You don't expect most teams to advance in the first place. But let's run through it. Let's see how many are advancing. In the puppy, I have 9 out of 44, so we'll check out some of those at 20% rate. I'll take that. In the Schnauzer, we only had 1 out of 20. Okay, I did terribly in the Schnauzer. That one was, oh my God, that was bad. The Schnauzer 2, we did fine at 15%. That's not great, but fine. We did average in the puppy. We had a good showing in the little board. That was preseason, so at 27%. Some of my pre-draft takes, the little board was being drafted in like April. So April and March, I had a decent showing back then, an advance rate of 27%. But in the Chihuahua, I played like shit. Damn, Chihuahua was bad. The puppy, we had 3 out of 11, so that's pretty good. But maybe I don't bore you with all those numbers. Let's go to some teams. Let me show you the one that made me laugh. This one I thought was so rewarding. So in Best Ball Mania, I only had 9 entries. I did not have that many teams, only 9 total. However, we advanced 3 of them. In Best Ball Mania, I had a 33% advance rate. So I'm happy with that. And let me show you the 3 that advanced. This one scored the most points, and this one had 1,646 points on it. And then look at third place, 1645.9. I literally won by 0.3. So that shit is so fucking slim. Happy to have the $25. And then look who's on the team. Look who's on the team that just scored for me last week. We had Baker with 12 points. That's sad. At least we have Drake May, but Baker did just enough. We have Gibbs advancing with Bucky. I wonder what the percentage on Bucky Irving advancing is, because I stacked him with Rachaad White. The handcuff did pay off. I got very few points out of anyone else on this team at running back. So thankfully I had Rachaad White and Gibbs. But then at receiver, I'm fucking loaded if I'm not mistaken. I have JSN, Metcalf played well, Sutton. Tesla came through for me with a touchdown last week. 9 points from Tesla. That's how I was able to squeak out this one. This one was very rewarding. I got to say, this one was very fun. But then it also has Keenan on it. He's been playing bad lately, so not as valuable at the moment. But then I also have Igbuka. That's a bit rough. And then tight end is Isaiah Likely Andrews. I don't know if this team is going to make it very far. At least I have JSN. At least I have Gibbs and Drake May. But if Bucky Irving doesn't pop off this week, I wouldn't expect this team to advance very far. But the next team won the whole thing. So this team was pretty good. Had Jalen Hurts, Geno, Bijan, Jacobs, Swift. And then we also had T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Pittman, Keon, Betch, Michael Wilson. Nice. Oh, a team with Michael Wilson in the playoffs? In the BBM playoffs with Michael Wilson. That's fire. Sweet. I'm very happy about that. That is clutch. He's on fire right now. That's dope. Also have Burton and Keandre Lambert-Smith. Some big bagels here. Wow. Jack Betch also with the bagel. But Evan Ingram, Dallas Goedert. Not the best tight end combo, but I guess with the Hurt stack, I'll take it. And then my only other Best Ball Mania team advancing, also in second place, but as long as it moves on, that's all that matters. We took Caleb, Michael Penix, and Tyler Shuck, and then Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco, Tyler Algier, and Marshawn Lloyd. So Algier came through for me, gave me 90 points on the year. That was a good pick. But then receiver has Xavier Worthy. Worthy was a bust. Worthy sucked. Flowers, not bad. Juwan Jennings, pretty mediocre. Darnell Mooney. How did this team make it? How is this team advancing? Has Shaheed, Luther Burden, Leggett, Demara Douglas? How the fuck did this team make it? What the hell? This doesn't make any sense. Also has Trey McBride and Juwan Johnson. Wow. That is wild. I don't think this team has much of a shot. The receivers on this team suck. How the fuck did that work out? Okay. Okay, all right. And then sadly, I have 2 teams in third. Like 5 out of 9 teams finished in the top 3. I had a good streak. Also, what was crazy is 2 of the teams that advanced, I streamed on the same day. So if you're interested, you can go through my lives and go back to July 27th. We drafted 2 best ball teams on July 27th. Both of them advanced. And if you're really interested, you can check those out. But until they make it to the final, I'm not really going to go back and check myself. I'm going to be honest. Until they make like big money in week 17, I don't think I care too much about going back and sifting through the content to find the videos. But at least both of these were on the same day. That's kind of cool. But on July 13th, we drafted a 3rd place team with P Punch. I remember P Punch quite well. That team was close, but ultimately lost by 150 points, so it wasn't close at all, really. And then this one was also streamed August 17th and came in 3rd, but also almost lost by 200. So no need to look at that one. Let's find some other teams. Let's find my best scoring team. Let's find which team has the most points overall. In the Chihuahua 2, we have one with 1,840. That ranks 258th in the tournament. So that's pretty good. This team has Hurts, Stafford, Darnold, Adams, JSN on the same team. That's pretty good. Also has good quarterbacks, but Devontae Smith better show up. Shaheed, hopefully. Oh, it has Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is playing very well at the moment. Let's hope for the best with that team. But running back, I don't love on that team, so not sure if I would bet on it. This team is super flex, has 1,858 points. That's pretty high, but in this tournament, I wouldn't say it ranks too well, only top 10,000. But that's probably a very big tournament. The Puppy but Superflex, yeah, that's a big tournament. This team in the Pug is looking pretty good, 1,850. Oh yeah, it ranks 81st in the Pug. Let's check out that one. Let's pull up that one. In the Pug. Can't find it. Here we go. I only drafted 3. It was the only one that finished in first. And it won by 100 points. Pretty dominant showing in this league. Has Dak Prescott, Bryce Young, Cam Ward. At least it has Dak. But at running back, we got CMC, Kyron, and Judkins. That's not bad. Also has Jaden Blue and Rico Dowdle. Dowdle in the clutch. Dope. Rico Dowdle played very well. Then we have A.J. Brown, Cortland Sutton, George Pickens, Olave, Darnell Mooney, Egbuka, and Jalen Tolbert. And then at tight end, we're rocking with Njoku, Ferguson, and Chigo Okonkwo. Need Ferguson to step up this week. That's for sure. Scott, thank you very much, man. I hope so too. I highly doubt it. The odds are so slim, but boy, I would love it. That'd be insane if it actually happened. Yeah, I wish I drafted more Best Ball Mania teams. I think next year I'm going to be drafting a lot more in Best Ball Mania. Just got to set up the budget for it. Jay New, I'd personally stick with Johnson this week. Oh, you're answering somebody's question. Thank you, Rajan. Yes, indeed. Like the stream. If you haven't done so, drop a like before you leave. Hashhead says Fannin Jr. tight end rankings this week in full PPR. I have Juwan Johnson, but want to drop him for Fannin off waivers. I think I would be fine with that. I think Fannin has a great connection with Shedeur right now, and that offense is playing pretty well. I think that's fine. The Panthers matchup for Juwan Johnson, I don't think is enticing enough to feel good about it. In general, I would expect Fannin to score a touchdown more likely than Juwan Johnson. So yeah, I think I would do that. Give me Fannin over Juwan. And then is Addison really a stream this week with his matchup? At the moment, I would probably bet against it, but against Dallas, anything can happen. I probably wouldn't do it though. Chris to the core says Gannon, Strange, or Juwan. I think you mean Fannin here. Also, you trust in Michael Wilson up against Houston. I think I'm still trusting Michael Wilson, yeah. I get it if you don't want to, but he's just been so fucking dominant. He's played so well. I think I would. But Fannin, Strange, or Juwan, I think we're going to go Fannin. Very close, but I think I'm going to go Harold Fannin. I think so. And then I wanted to pull up one other team because this one, I also noticed this team was awesome. So I only did one Badge Bros qualifier. I wish I did more because my strategy was really fucking good. Look at the score in this league. I'm advancing with almost 300 more points than second place. That is wild to me. That is insane. Look at the team I drafted in the Badge Bros. And this is only a 6-team league, so you're supposed to have a stacked lineup. But I don't think I could have done better at receiver. So at quarterback, it's fine. We got Jaden Daniels. Obviously, the injury impacted that pick. It would have been good if he stayed healthy. But then Caleb Williams played pretty okay. And then Jared Goff also contributed at a decent clip. So quarterback is fine. Maybe not elite, but fine. Running back, we got Gibbs, Ashton Genty, James Cook. So 2 studs with Gibbs and Cook. That's pretty dope. We also have Genty, who could pop off against the Giants in Week 17. If this team makes it, I'm really looking forward to that. And then there's Travion, who can always go elite, go nuclear. Also has Swift, who's played really well. And then also has Ray Davis, whatever, on Ray Davis. But at receiver, this is where it's like, holy effing shit. I hit on every fucking pick at receiver. Puka, Adams, JSN, Jamison Williams, George Pickens, Roma Dunze, and Debo Samuel. And then the tight end room has Kittle. I don't think that many teams have advanced Kittle this year. Kittle is not a very high rostered player, if I were to guess, based on his injury status. I also have Colston Loveland, who's playing lights out right now. So I think this team is going to be really, really strong. It won the pod it was in by 300 points. Like, that feels insane. I have to look up the leaderboard in this tournament. Let's see where it actually ranks in the tournament. Let's go to Badge Bros Brawl. Where the fuck would it be? And then there's one other one I want to show you after this. I'm not going to sift through too many of them. I could be here all day. But I want to see where I rank in the... Oh, actually, that's probably not the best way to do it. In the Badge Bros Brawl. Where the fuck is it? Okay. This is the team with 2,100 points. It ranks in the top 406. So maybe not like as high as I thought. I thought maybe like top 200 perhaps. But how many teams were even drafted in this? I think this one was a big tournament. This tournament had 56,000 entries. So to finish in the top 410 is pretty solid, if you ask me. I'm pretty happy with that. But the advance rates are pretty solid, 1 out of 5 in the next 2 weeks. And then if we do make the final, given my roster, I think I got a shot. If we make the final, I would get a minimum $250. And then obviously a shot at 100K if we finish in first. But I'm going to need the quarterback position to play well. If the Caleb Williams and Colston Loveland stack carries me, then I think that team is really going to do well. Because it's loaded. Receiver is just so effing good. Puka, Adams, JSN, Jamison Williams, Pickens, Odunze, and Debo. I know that Odunze and Debo, maybe not the same right now, but they were great to start the year, and I'm loaded enough, they probably don't even fit in the roster. So that team makes me very excited. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then one more team that I definitely wanted to show you before I leave. Maybe I'll look up some others, but at least one more. This is in the Flock Community Contest. I did a total of 12 Flock tournaments across the different contest entries, and only one of them is advancing, but that is literally the advance rate in the Flock tournament. You need to finish first. So if I did 12, then on average, I would only have one that advances. So this is the team that advanced. It played pretty well, 1,800 points. And if I'm not mistaken, it finished in the top 50 or 60 of the tournament. Let me pull it up. Here we go. In Flock Community Contest number 9, this team ranks 51st out of, I believe, 10,000 entries. So pretty high on the ranks. And then here's the full roster. I won the league by 170 points pretty much. So a pretty dominant showing. We have Josh Allen and Drake May. We have Jonathan Taylor. JCM I took pretty high. I also took Etienne. I also took Ray Davis and Algier. I also took DJ Giddens. And then at receiver, we got CeeDee Lamb. Oh my God, I hope he plays. Oh shit. If he doesn't play this week, I'm screwed. Fuck, that's actually very scary. Damn, the concussion protocol might burn me on this team. But also has JMO, Jalen Waddle. Man, I hope he plays well in the snow. Matthew Golden, going to be dog shit, totally worthless. Juwan Jennings might be okay, but I'm not expecting the world from him. And then also had Torrey Horton on this team. Pretty shocking that Torrey Horton gave me 47 points in this format. Meanwhile, Matthew Golden gave me 26. It's crazy that Torrey Horton was a better pick than Matthew Golden. And right now, Torrey Horton's on IR. Torrey Horton hasn't played since like week 10. Torrey Horton was actually a really good pick. A lot of touchdowns with Torrey Horton in round 18. But Quentin Johnson, I even took after him. People faded QJ way too hard in this draft. And 92 points. For my guy, I probably drafted in like the 16th round. That's pretty dope. But tight end is where I'm hopeful for this team. Tight end is pretty fire. We got a really good combination of Kincaid, Goddard, and Theo Johnson. A good eclectic group that all contributed very well. At least 65 points from all three tight ends. I got a total of 200 plus points at tight end with this trio. That's pretty fire. Theo Johnson around 18 was a great pick. Theo Johnson was dope. So this team I'm hopeful for. As long as I have Allen, I'm in business. Allen and Taylor on the same team. That's pretty dope. But if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, shit, that would suck. Here's the thing about the Flock tournament. You don't make any money unless you make the final. But if you advance when the rate of advancing is hyper slim, then you have a great chance of moving forward. Because this week, it's a 1-to-1. I only need to beat one other person to make it past week 15. Then it's one other person again. And then if I make the final, if I'm in the final 100 people, then I would make $50 minimum with a shot at 10K. Obviously, it's going to be tough, but in this tournament, more so than any other tournament, if you advance, you have a much higher rate of making the final round. So I'm really hopeful, but man, I need CeeDee Lamb to play. I really, really need CeeDee Lamb to play. Is Njoku injured? Seems like he was somewhat okay last week. I'm already forgetting on Njoku's status. I'm going to look it up. Njoku's questionable right now. Ruled out after leaving Sunday's loss with a knee injury. Yeah, if anything, that just bolsters Fannin even more. Fannin should be a great play if Njoku is indeed out. Absolutely, Janu. 100% agree. Bryce says, which quarterback, JD5, Jacoby, or Caleb? Which defense, Panthers, Bears, Steelers? And then which kicker, McPherson or Eddie Pinheiro? Is Pinheiro active? Is he coming off of the injured list? I think I might go McPherson instead of Pinheiro. McPherson had insane field goal production against the Ravens 2 weeks ago. So at kicker, I'll go McPherson. At defense, I think we're going to go the Bears. I think I'm going to go with the Bears. Against Cleveland, I think that's where I'm leaning. But That could also be bad. Shador played really well last week, so that'll be fun. But which quarterback? JD5 after last week? No, I'm not going to go with JD5. Even against the Giants, I'm going to say no to JD5. Jacoby at the Texans, fuck that. And then Caleb home to the Browns. I think it's Caleb. I think Caleb will be the play. I think so. But I could talk myself into the Steelers in the snow against Tua at home. That could work out. They probably force some turnovers. Panthers at the Saints could also be valuable, but I think I would pass for Cleveland or Pittsburgh a little bit more. But Reflect the Sun says you nailed the Tory pick. Sucks he got hurt. I know, it's so sad. What's crazy is even since he's gone down, no one has stepped into his shoes. Like, he was hitting touchdowns very consistently as the number 2 option. Kupp has not stepped to the plate. Neither has Shaheed. Shaheed didn't really do much until last week. And even that was mostly just on special teams. So it's crazy that Torrey Horton was like the more reliable receiver. I wish he stayed healthy. Next year, I think he's going to be awesome. Next year, I'm really optimistic on Torrey Horton. But yeah, that was a good pick. That was a very good pick. Jay New says, I was hoping London would come back this week so I didn't have to rely on Igbuka. So I'm looking for solid wide receivers to stream. Oh my God. I need London so bad. I missed the bye in one of my leagues. And that team, my 2 receivers are London and CeeDee Lamb. Wouldn't it suck if neither played? Like, I missed the bye by 12 points last week. I lost because I started Herbert. And then I almost got like no touchdowns. My only touchdowns were from RJ Harvey. It was really sad. I came so close. I had a lot of yards and I lost by 12 because I didn't have any fucking touchdowns. Very sad to miss the bye. So I'm really, really hoping London plays. I think given he's playing on Thursday, that's why he didn't play last week. But he didn't practice on the walkthrough Monday. I don't know what's going on with London. I'm really hoping he pulls a St. Brown and just still plays, even if he doesn't practice. I need him so bad. I need London so bad. But Dev saying we both advanced in a puppy. Oh, let me check that out. But wish me luck, everyone, on this flock contest. Also, before I check that puppy real quick, I was in a flock tournament with Mason Dodd, the flock fantasy himself. In the contest number 4, I entered in 3 and I didn't advance any, but one of them was with the flock and I just barely finished behind him. Neither of us advanced. We missed out by less than 50 points, but he finished second. I finished in third. For most of the year, I was above him, and then last couple weeks he's popped off because he has Josh Allen. And that week from Allen when he dropped like 50 points was just so valuable. So that didn't work out. But very close. And then on August 8th, I didn't stream this. I didn't plan it. We didn't organize this, but we ended up clicking the button at the same time once. And in this lobby, Davis Maddock, who also is on YouTube, ended up streaming. So just wanted to mention it because I thought it was pretty fun. Shout out Davis Maddock, who has a channel. Check him out if you haven't already. He had a crazy draft in this one. He took Goff in like the 6th round. This draft was crazy. Like, he took Goff in literally the 6th round. It was fucking weird. But I was at the other bookend. I had the 1 pick. He had the 12. And then neither of us advanced. Neither of us made it out. So bummer on that one. But I was tracking that one this year. Just both of these with the flock and Maddock. And who knows? Maybe I can get them on the channel this season. I'm going to try and get some other creators for some videos on the channel. So keep an eye out for that after the season is over in the off season. No promises. Of course, I don't know who I can book, but we'll try and expand some video ideas. Maybe talk to some other people in the fantasy community a bit more. I've never done that, so I feel like I should. You mentioned it. We advanced into Puppy 3. Let me pull that up. Let me find it. The Puppy 3, we have a pod with Dev that advanced. I was in one with Severe Jury. Severe Jury just missed out in this one. Just bounced him. But that's not the one with Dev in it. Instead, that's not it. That's not it. Neither is that one. Are you sure, Dev? I didn't see it. I'm only advancing 3, and I didn't notice you in any of them. Oh, wait, aren't you severe jury? Or no? Maybe it was a different pod, man. I know we're in at least some together. I've seen some. But maybe it's a different tournament that I'm thinking of. Maybe it's the Puppy 2. Maybe it's a different one. Albie's in this one. I recognize Albie. Albie won this league. I finished in second. That's dope. I had Brock Purdy, McCarthy on this team. Wow, to advance with McCarthy is pretty shocking. Also had Stafford, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor. Wow, a team with Bijan and Taylor. I wish I had more of those. Also has James Cook on it with Algier and Jalen Wright as well. Oh, shit. This could be dope. If Achane misses, stashing Jalen Wright could be clutch. Yo, I'm excited for that. Also has Adams, Ridley on this team. Oh my God. Remember when I was all aboard the Ridley train? Thankfully, I stopped that in like mid-July. But for the beginning of the offseason, I drafted Ridley like crazy. Man, that was a bad pick. Jordan Addison, not a great pick. Ricky Pearsall was a terrible pick. Holy shit. Pearsall's doing nothing. Even Ricky Pearsall was a worse pick than Torrey Horton. That's insane. Jaden Higgins on this team. Now he's starting to play well. Pat Bryant, very minimal contribution. Keenan has really fallen off. And then Demarcus Robinson, I wish I had Kendrick Bourne instead of Demarcus Robinson. But Tyler Warren with a lot of production. Terrence Ferguson, I wish I had Colby Parkinson. But this team is okay. If Jalen Wright plays well, the running back position is going to carry me on this team. This team is interesting because of the running back. But I wish receiver was a little bit better. Dev says it was in the Puppy 4. Okay, let me check the Puppy 4. This is Puppy 2. I only have one advancing in the Puppy. So yeah, there you are, man. There you are. You had Mahomes and Caleb. Let me pull up the draft as well. Let me see where do we draft in this one. But I was at the 103. I had the 3 slot. And then Dev, you were drafting in the 11. You had the 11 slot. So you had Amon-Ra as your first pick on this. Then you took Derrick Henry and Travion Henderson. You took Henderson in the 3rd round. Good for you. Then you took Pickens in the 4th. Followed that up with Travis Hunter. Hunter was a bad pick. Damn, Hunter sucked. Wow. I totally forgot that Travis Hunter used to go so high. I totally forgot about him. Then you took RJ Harvey in the 6th. That's looking like a great pick right now. Then you took Mahomes in the 7th. Then you took Kelsey and Loveland in the 8th and 9th. You followed that up with Caleb Williams, Hollywood Brown. You took Javonte Williams on this team. Good pick, my man. Javonte Williams. Man. Yo, what could have been if I had just stuck to my guns on Javonte Williams? What's crazy about Javonte, in the month of May and June, I actually had Javonte Williams as my most drafted running back. I had him at like 22% in the month of May and June. But at that stage of the game, I hadn't drafted a ton of overall teams. And then starting in July, I remember I completely stopped investing in Javonte. I decided I was wrong, and then I needed to be drafting Jaden Blue and Miles Sanders. If I had just stuck to Javonte, I would have ended with like such an elite share of Javonte Williams. I'm so sad that I stopped drafting Javonte Williams. That was such a good pick, and I didn't trust my gut. That one was sad, but you got a shot here, man. You got a good team. To have RJ Harvey and Travion is pretty dope. Like, they weren't contributing at a great rate up until recently, but good for you. My team was in 2nd with Drake May, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, JCM, Eckler, and Shipley. Wow, I advanced this team with JCM, Eckler, and Shipley. That's wild. Holy shit. Receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, Judy, Adam Thielen, A.D. Mitchell. Okay, he's got something going on right now. And Isaiah Bond, along with Tyler Warren and Dallas Goedert. Not my favorite team. Kind of shocking that it's alive, but any team that has Taylor and Jacobs has a shot. So let's hope for the best, but I wouldn't expect that team to make it all the way. If that team wins, I'd be pretty surprised. But Hunter was about to go crazy right before the injury. He was, man. That's true. That is very, very accurate. I drafted him in my PPR league, and I came so close to dropping him. And then the week before the bye, I decided to stash just one more week, and he played so well in London, and then he never got back on the field. It was such a bummer. I felt so redeemed when I stashed Hunter the last week. I was like literally on the brink of dropping him. I was like, no, I'm going to give it one more time. If he goes off and somebody else has him on the wire after this, I'm going to be so pissed that I waited and it didn't work out. And it finally worked out. And then he literally went down the next day. It was so crazy. So sad. But Hashhead, thank you very much, man. I'm really, really hoping on Lamb. If Lamb doesn't suit up, I'm screwed. Not just in my PPR league, but also in BestBall. I'm really hoping that works out. Yeah, we all need luck. If you make it this far, it's skill. If you advance further than this in a fucking BestBall league, like some of it's skill, but most of it is luck. Let's be honest. There's a lot of luck involved. The element of chance is definitely a big factor. But are there any other teams I want to skim through? Probably not. There's too many, and like until they make it to like week 16, like unless they advance in this week, like it doesn't really matter, you know. Like I need to reevaluate next week. Once you're in week 16, then you can start to maybe feel good, but it's pretty hard to make it all the way. It's pretty difficult. In the MMG league, I think I had a really good one in one of them. Yeah, this one ranked pretty high. Hurts and Drake May, Bijan, Taylor. This team drafted Mixon. Holy shit. Made it with Mixon. Also has Shipley, Rico Dowdle, and Kyle Monungai. Oh, yeah. Those are good stashes. Sutton, Debo, Jawan Jennings. Not feeling great about that. Darnell Mooney. Yikes. Rashad Bateman. Holy shit. This team sucks. No good receivers other than Sutton. And I guess maybe Debo. Damn, that's a bummer. Reflect the Sun, I drafted so much Pearsall, Jaden Blue, Travis Hunter, Grendo, and Dante Thornton. The Dante Thornton one, that one was misguided. That one didn't work out. But who knows? Maybe Kenny Pickett will unlock Dante Thornton this week against the Eagles. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe. I think that's gonna be it. I don't think I'm gonna go through any other ones. We showed you the Bradge Bros one. That one I think has a real high chance. In the Poodle, this is the highest scoring team. This team has Caleb Johnson on it. Holy shit. That's wild. Also has Jalen Wright. Let's hope for that to work out. CeeDee Lamb, Terry, Pickens, Addison, Higgins, Pittman, and Quentin Johnston. Kittle and Juwan Johnson. Okay. That's interesting. Wish me luck, everyone. I hope for the best, but ultimately it's just for fun and, you know, the shot at a big prize. But before I go, let's do one draft. Are there any okay, this one's for the playoff picture. This one's a $15 entry. This one's only $3. 5K to first. Yeah, we can do some leagues with just the last 4 weeks remaining. These last 4 weeks tournaments are kind of interesting. So this one's $25. I think I'll pass on that one for my first. This one's $5. This one's $3. I think we're going to do the $3 tournament here. The Little Mitten. Weeks 14 through 17. A 16 league, top 2 advance, then 1 out of 5, 1 out of 5. And then if you make it to week 17, 248 people in the final, so a minimum return of $20. So keep that in mind. Only $3 down. Not expecting much return. But if you somehow come in first, you can win $5,000. Odds are, though, it's pretty hard to do that. So let's try it. Let's at least take a swing on it. But haven't done one of these. Not sure how it's going to go. Interesting for the sake of an exercise. But if it takes too long to fill, I won't wait around too long. There's 3 spots. Sorry. There's 3 spots if you want one. $3 little mitten. Down to 1 spot. 1 spot remaining. Okay, we're full. Sweet. Oh, also, quick reminder. We do offer a promo code on Underdog if you're interested in using it. Let me pull this down slightly. Make that a little smaller. And then I've got to show you this real quick. Promo code BLUNT gets you $75 in bonus funds after you play your first 5. So new customers can capitalize on this very valuable deal. I wish I had this when I was joining Underdog. Sadly, a week ago, this was a better deal. If you used promo code BLUNT last week, you would have gotten $100 in bonus funds. They did drop it down to $75. So if you were waiting, you missed out on an extra $25. But if you are still tempted, if you still want to sign up, enter promo code BLUNT. I believe the link should be in the description, but if you go to Underdog and on sign up, enter promo code BLUNT, you will get that new customer offer. Your first deposit will be matched by 50%. And then once you play your first $5 entry, you will get $75 in bonus funds deposited in your account. Reminder, promo code BLUNT for that deal. But this draft is underway. Team 1 took Puka. And a reminder on the scoring settings, we're only drafting 6 players. Very slim pickings, not a very deep draft. However, we get 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 receivers, 1 flex, and 5 bench spots. 5 bench spots. Reflect the Sun says, good luck. Thank you, man. I hope things go well. That's a great deal. I think so too. I think it's pretty fire. Down the stretch here, I think I would like to have Christian McCaffrey. The schedule for McCaffrey is pretty dope. This week they get the Titans. Then they're going to be at the Colts, Chicago, and Seattle. I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey. I also don't know if the Niners are going to be benching any starters in the final week. I think they're still going to be vying for the playoff picture. So give me McCaffrey. And then, boy, receiver kind of got slim kind of quickly. I feel like there's names missing here. Yeah, how is Amon-Ra so low on the list? Oh, it's wide receiver and tight end. I get it now. How is Gibbs that buried? What the fuck? Yo, what's with the ADP on this? What the fuck? I have McCaffrey and Gibbs on the same team? How the fuck was his ADP below RJ Harvey? What am I missing on Gibbs? Huh? Oh. Is that what it is? 2020. Oh, okay. Shit. Okay. At least I only did the $3 entry one. Yeah, okay. Now I get it. Fuck. Okay. This is not the tournament I want to be in then. Very valid reason for this. I'd be worried that Gibbs doesn't even make the playoffs now. Okay, shit. All right. Good to know. Good to know. But Hampton could be good. I think Hampton will make the playoffs. I need receivers and tight ends, though. I think we're going to draft Kittle. I think Sutton would be valuable. I would see Christian Watson as valuable in this. What about quarterback? I think I can wait on quarterback. That'll be wide open, in my opinion. Yeah, give me Kittle here. That feels like a player that's too low. We have McCaffrey, we have Kittle, and Gibbs. Gibbs might burn me, now that I think about it. Gibbs could give me a bagel. Okay. Noah says, what would you do? Please pick 3 running backs, 1 flex. Rico, Henry, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, Hampton, Pitts, and also do you prefer Dart or Dak? Full PPR. I'm on the clock, so give me 1 second. How is Nico this low? What the fuck? They're definitely making the playoffs. Okay. In the flex, we're gonna go with Chase Brown and Henry for sure. That feels like a no-brainer. And then you need another running back and 1 flex. I think we're gonna go Hampton and Pitts. I think that's where I'm gonna go. Kyle Pitts and Hampton, your 3rd running back in your flex. Kyle Pitts is playing really well. I'd go Kyle Pitts, but Dart over Dak. Dart against the Commanders, Dak against the Vikings. The Vikings are actually really tough right now. I would go Dart, especially if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play. Then yeah, I would go Jackson Dart over Dak Prescott. There's going to be some snow in the Giants game, but still I think the Commanders matchup's much better than Dak. If anything, Dart will run more in the snow. But Jang says pick up Mike Gesicki or Shaheed for flex. Yikes. That's really gross. I think I might go Gesicki, but I think you can still do better. If you rewind, you can find all of my waiver wire priorities, and I'd recommend someone over there. But we are back on the clock. We need a quarterback. We need another flex play. At quarterback, I think I'm taking Purdy. Given this Niners stack I have, I think that's the wise choice. Oh, there's also still 5 bench spots. Okay. Yeah, I'll take Brock Purdy. He's definitely making the playoffs. I'll do that for the stack. Niners are probably winning a playoff game. Probably. If they're like at the Cowboys, they're going to win a playoff game. But then we need a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs. I could see the Packers go deep. I could see the Patriots go deep. I could see the Rams go pretty deep. Could Bucky Irving go kind of deep? Maybe. I could see Bucky in the championship game, maybe even the Super Bowl. Fuck it. But really, we need the Niners to make the Super Bowl, given this team. At least there's a bench on this team, because Gibbs might be giving me a bagel. Noah says, how do you feel about Scary Terry? Play him over Booty, full PPR? Yeah, I think I would play Scary Terry over Kayshawn. I think so. Quarterback situation is really weird in Washington right now, but I think he is slightly more valuable than Kayshawn Booty. Hampton comes off the board. That would have been good. Um, Kayshon Bouttie's actually not bad in this tournament, but Jacoby Meyer's still available. He's been playing well. I could see Zach Charbonnet be pretty clutch in this. Maybe even Swift, but that is hard to say. This is a very random, hard tournament to predict at this point in time. I'd rather draft this tournament in a few weeks, not today. I regret joining this, but I didn't know what I was getting into. My mistake. Burning $3. Not the end of the world, but not good. I mean, at this point, let's say fuck it, and we'll go with Juwan Jennings. That feels probably like a wise choice for the stack. But someone's drafting Laporta in this? That's crazy. How the fuck is picking so... Okay, I guess I understand that. I'll go Swift here. Bears are going to make the playoffs. Very likely they make the playoffs. How many rounds left in this? We got 2. Okay, so I'll need another quarterback for sure. And then maybe another running back. Actually, probably not. Another receiver / tight end. We could go a lot of directions here. Might get a bagel from all of them. We could go Mike Evans, maybe. That's interesting. Evans could be very valuable. Loveland also might not make the playoffs. I think I'm going to take Caleb. I think so. Maybe Lamar was the better choice, though. I could see Lamar make it to the Super Bowl. Despite them being so bad, I could still see it. In the wide open AFC, I could see it. I think I'm going to go Kayshon Boutte. Oh, no, he's taken. So we will go Loveland. All right. That's the team. We have Purdy and Caleb, CMC, Gibbs, Bucky Irving, Swift, Kittle, Nico Collins, Juwan Jennings, and Colston Loveland. We need the Bears and the Niners to make it all the way to the NFC Championship game, and then one of them to obviously advance to the Super Bowl and fill out the roster. That's what I need. But definitely didn't go into this with the right strategy. I thought this tournament was different than it actually was. So, will I do one more? Probably not at this point. That was anticlimactic, so not my favorite thing to do. But I'll do one Wildcat. I'll do a Wildcat entry. Another $3, so at least this one I know exactly what I'm getting into. This one is only Week 15, Sunday main slate. All the main games in the early morning and afternoon. And this one I know exactly what we're doing. So let's do this and then I'll sign off. I'll be gone in just a beat. But if you stuck around with me, thank you very much for waiting this long and enjoying the evening. I will have start sit videos out tomorrow. So if you're looking for that tonight, don't stay up for that. I promise you they will not be posted in time. But they will be posted earlier than typical on tomorrow. Like I'll be recording that in the morning tomorrow and posting it mid-afternoon. So I am on the West Coast. Keep that in mind, but that'll be available tomorrow. And a reminder, all those waiver wire claims were earlier on in the live stream. You can rewind if you're just joining and want to catch up, I will add all the timestamps after I'm done streaming, though. I will drop the timestamps. So this was fun. This was a fun stream. We had some teams that are live in the Best Ball Championship, or Fantasy Playoffs, I should say. Not the championship round yet. And then we're 2 for 2 in our redraft leagues that have advanced to the playoffs. And yeah, overall feeling good, but kind of sad when we get to this point of the year, knowing that there's only a few weeks left of fantasy football. And then some people, their season's over. Some people have been eliminated. Sometimes it's a bit of a bummer at this stage of the year for some people in fantasy. But ideally, we've all made the playoffs. Ideally, we've all advanced. Everything's going well. But sudden death is not a safe way to live. Half of us will be eliminated this week. Not fun to think about it, but definitely the reality. Anyways, we are almost on the clock. Definitely going to grab one of these receivers. If I can get JSN, I will take him, but no, he goes to that team. This week is a snow game, and that's where I think Allen could really dominate on the ground. I think Josh Allen's going to go nuclear in terms of rushing yards this week, so very tempted to take him. I've done one of these already where I took Josh Allen, and I like the team quite a bit, so I'll take him here now. But that Patriots game should be fun. Obviously, Allen is going to be rostered in all of these, so it's not unique. You just need it to be the right pick. Taylor goes. Given we are betting on Allen, we're just going to bet on that Patriots game further. We're going to take James Cook. Or do I go with a receiver, actually? No, I think I'm going to go Adams. That Lions defense is so bad. I think I'm going to take Devontae Adams. Stafford should play lights out this week. I'll go Adams. But could have definitely taken Cook there. However, running back, I think you can get good values later on. If Allen goes nuclear, it's because he's giving you so many rushing stats that could limit James Cook a little bit. But you could also get a house call reception out of James Cook that gives you the stack bonus. There's a lot of different scenarios. We're just hoping for the best ones. But let's assume that Allen outperforms everyone because he does it so well on the ground. That's the logic for this team. And then Devontae should play lights out himself as well. So Lions don't scare me at all. And then Henry and Amon-Ra go off the board. Rashi comes off the board. I don't think Rashi's going to have a great game this week. Chargers, not a good matchup for receiver. Just ask Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown last week. Neither played well. Actually, did A.J. Brown score a touchdown? He might have. I might be forgetting a touchdown by A.J. Brown. But, Luis in the chat, will I stream if I'm eliminated? Yes, even if I'm eliminated, I'm still doing the videos. I'll remind you I'm eliminated if you don't respect my opinion as much. That's fair. But yeah, I'll still make content through even week 18. Even though I don't play in week 18, I still will make content through the playoffs. Not going to quit at this stage. Too late to stop. Wouldn't it be so sad if I did content all the way through this and then just randomly just gave up like week 15? That'd be pathetic. I'm not going to do that. No way I'd do that. Do we trust Saquon after last week? I don't think I trust him yet. And he gets taken, so I don't even have to think about it. Sweet. I think I'm gonna go. Dang, this is kind of tough. Um, I think Bowers is gonna dominate this week. I really do. I'm gonna take Bowers. That's the only way that my Raiders upset works out. That's the only way that actually happens. If Bowers fucking goes insane, then that's the only way the Eagles will lose that game. But Reflect the Sun says we're all going to lose a bunch, the nature of the game. Yeah, that's the thing. Only one person can win your league. That's why losing in the playoffs is, as long as I make the playoffs, I consider it a success. If I lose in the playoffs, it just is what it is. It's a 1-week game, and sadly, sometimes you just don't have enough. But ideally, we make it to the playoffs. We win, we keep winning, and then we win the chip. That's really what we're playing for. That's what we're playing for. Oh, right. I'm on the clock. Fuck. Shit. I'm gonna go Jameson Williams. The upside of JMO opposite Adams in that game should be high. I see that as a big shootout, so let's go with JMO. Mark Twain says, "Sup, boss? Would you pick up Flournoy with CD out if Sutton is my backup?" Yes, absolutely. If you have CD Lamb, you should be handcuffing him to Ryan Flournoy. Flournoy has some great games. With Lamb out this year. And then last week, he also really stepped up. So, yes, indeed, I would. My internet just froze. So, I think I'm still streaming, but I lost the comment filter. Yeah, I'm not a quitter. That'd be crazy. That'd be so selfish. That'd be so stupid. Just stop. That'd be so strange. I would never do that. I would not do that. Ooh, Fannin. That could be a good pick this week. Also the Kincaid stack might be valuable on this team. Michael Wilson at the Texans is going pretty late. I mean, I know it's the Texans, but Michael Wilson has just been playing lights out. That still feels like a good pick. We only have 2 slots left. We need a running back really bad. I think I'm probably just going to take Jacobs here if he's still there. If not, could we go Kyron versus Detroit? Maybe. I still think Kyron's good, but obviously Blake Corum is scaring me. Corum got to be buried still. Yeah, Corum's way down. Okay, I am on the clock now. Team after me already has 2 running backs, no tight end. So knowing that, I'll just get the tight end before I miss out. The stack is probably worth it, but that matchup for Likely is so good. But then Njoku's out. Now, we're going to draft Fannin. Give me Harold Fannin against the Titans. Let's do that. And then this last pick has to be running back. Probably going to take Jacobs. We could also take R.J. Harvey. He's been playing really well last 2 games. Judkins at Chicago. He's fine, maybe not great. Woody Marks versus Arizona. Great matchup for Woody Marks. Had 26 carries, 19 the week prior. Woody Marks might be actually a really good pick. Hampton at the Chiefs. Pollard at the Niners. And then Corum down there. Fuck. I think we're going to mix it up. I think we're going to go R.J. Harvey. You need some players that are going to be less rostered. You really do. You really, really do. But yeah, so that's the team. We had the 5 slot. I've drafted 2 of these this week already, and I've been stuck in the back half of the board. So I've had very similar teams. I've been trying to mix it up a little bit. But we go with double tight end Bowers and Fannin We got Josh Allen hoping for all the rushing stats. He could go nuclear this week in the snow. And then I also have Adams and Jamison Williams hoping to go back and forth in that Rams-Lions game. And then RJ Harvey, not a great matchup, but has been playing lights out last couple games. Could definitely score a lot of touchdowns. Luis, like Josh Jacobs, then Corum, definitely considered it. But the reason I did not take Josh Jacobs is because I know that he's going to be rostered like crazy in this tournament. So I'm with the last pick, since I don't need a quarterback, I'm kind of trying to scroll down a little bit, maybe get someone less rostered. Harvey's still probably coveted, but I'm just trying to get unique. That's the motivation. But I don't disagree with your recommendations. I have another team that does have Corum on it, actually, in this tournament already. So not a bad pick at all. But Twisted Folk, would you consider Shadur Sanders or McCarthy to risk for any upside play? Sanders at the Bears or McCarthy at Dallas? I mean, would I start them? I don't think I'm willing to do it. Would I roster them on the bench? I'd consider it if you were playing someone that didn't have a good quarterback and you just wanted to play keep away. But ultimately, I think it might not be worth your time. Shador, I think, is probably more intriguing than JJ. That's my take on it. But I doubt I'm going to rank him high enough to factor in this week. Reflect the Sun, Leia in the house. Yes, Leia is here. Leia is actually right on the edge of the frame. Hello. Hey. Here she is. Here she is. The little kitty cat. And yes, she is expecting treats at this point. She is waiting for them. And I should probably log off soon and feed her. But let's answer the last few questions. Would you prioritize Likely over Theo as I'm starting Wandale? Or would Kincaid just trump all of them? I think I'm still going to go Theo Johnson rest of season, but this week Likely has a lot of upside. Likely is still pretty good. That's tough, man. The thing is, like, they're all in the same tier. Like, it's just such a fat tier from like tight end 6 through 15. They're all very similar, and it's really touchdown dependent, which is always hard to predict, man. It's not like you can guarantee a touchdown on tight end, really, ever. So this week I think I'd rather go Likely because of the matchup, but I think since you have Wandale, yeah, I think I might go Likely slightly above. But Kincaid should play well. Kincaid's also good, but Kincaid's very up and down. Hard to trust. It's weird, man. It's really strange at tight end. Good luck. I think this week I'm going Likely though. Twisted Folks, as I'm locked into the playoffs in 4 of my 6 leagues in the 1 or 2 spot. And the other 2, I'm in 5th must-win territory. I have Herbert and Brissett. Tempted to drop Herbert in week 15. Lawrence is safest. I would agree. I think Lawrence is a safer play than Justin Herbert. Lawrence against the Jets, and then Herbert has the hand injury at the Chiefs. I would agree on Lawrence. But then your follow-up is, would you consider Sanders or McCarthy to risk an upside play? I think if I was going to move off of Herbert, I would just go Lawrence. I don't think I would go with Sanders or McCarthy. It feels too risky, man. Those rookies they have no floor. They have no floor. The upside's interesting, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. She is a beauty, and she knows it. But Hashhead, this will be the last comment that I answer. Start 1 receiver and 1 flex full PPR out of Breece Hall, Olave, Jamo, Williams, Pittman, Debo, Harrison Jr. 1 receiver, 1 flex. With Phillip Rivers, I don't think I'm going to bet on Pittman at Seattle. I think I'm going to pass on Pittman. Debo, I don't know what his quarterback situation is. I'm not going to start him. Give me Jamison Williams all day at receiver, because I don't trust Olave right now as much. Give me Jamo for sure. And then running back, oh no, you need a flex. So I'd probably go Breece. I think I would go Breece. I think Breece has the safest yardage this week. I think that's what I'm going to do. Beware the floor. Yeah, that's also a valid point. Sometimes the floor doesn't help you in the playoffs, but you also have to be worried about the lack of floor. Oh, I think that's the point you're making. Yeah, beware the lack of floor. Yeah, 100%. Okay, I got to get some food in me. I'll see y'all next time. And check out the starts video tomorrow. That'll be posted tomorrow. Ideally before noon, but at the moment can't entirely promise that. Should be posted by 3 p.m. at the latest. Anyways, peace out. Good night. Later. Bye-bye.